We're going to take a look at getting started with Chat GPT. This is a pretty straightforward process. We're just going to run through it quickly. We're going to click the sign up button, and here you're going to enter an email address. I have an alias address I'm going to use. You're going to want to pick a password that is at least 16 characters because at this time ChatGPT does not have a multi-factor authentication option available. So at this point, you're going to go to your email account and click on the link inside to activate your account. Once you click on the email, you'll be brought to this page where it's going to ask you for some more information. And then you can fill in the information as you see fit. And then you're going to give it a phone number, and they're going to send a code over to this phone number. It can be a alias phone number, such as using one of the Google Voice numbers. It can also just be your phone number if you're comfortable with that. You're going to wait for the code to come back, and you're just going to enter the code in this box. That's going to bring you to the ChatGPT interface. You'll be in GPT 3.5 if you're having a free account. If you want to upgrade to the GPT-4, you'll need to pay the $20 a month fee to upgrade to the Plus. This essentially gets you access to a newer training model and also the newer algorithms that they use. But you may just want to try 3.5 to get started. So down here at the bottom is where you enter your queries or questions. So you can ask it any question you want. Let's say I'm writing a report and I want to get started on explaining a complicated concept. So let's ask it, please help me explain OAuth using client credentials. So now it's going to come back with its answer, and you can ask it to enhance the answer if you don't like it or if you want more. So you can say things like, please tell me more. And you can have a conversation, and this conversation will appear on the top left-hand side. So you can see up here on the left, we have OAuth client credential conversation. And this conversation is context sensitive, meaning as you ask more questions, it refers back to the previous questions to help refine the results. So if you come back in and start a brand new conversation and you take a different direction with your questions, you're going to get a slightly different answer that is context sensitive. Also, you can share these conversations. So if you wanted to share this conversation and its context with somebody else, there's a share button at the top right corner. It's a little hard to see, but this button here that looks like an upload symbol, that's a share chat symbol. You click on that and it's going to give you a link that you can copy, and then you can text, email, or otherwise send that over to a friend, and they can pick up that conversation and they'll also see all the results in the conversation. If you want to start over with a new conversation so that you don't influence with the questions you've already asked, just click on the new chat button and we'll say, give me directions from Texas to Kentucky. So this will be a brand new conversation that won't be influenced by the previous one possibly giving you some odd answers. Some of the really useful things you can do also would be things like commenting your source code. You can also ask it to write some basic source code, but just like when you ask it to write complicated answers to difficult questions, you really need to be careful to read carefully what it actually gave back to you, because it can be biased or influenced by the way you ask the question. And sometimes it'll try to give you an answer that it thinks you're looking for, and it'll value that more necessarily than the facts. So these are sometimes called hallucinations. Also, if you're asking it to write some source code, the best you're going to get is some pretty basic source code, and you're probably going to have to improve it. Also, always use the secure keyword. So for example, if I say, write a line of code that outputs a parameter to the browser in Node.js. So I'll fix my spelling and then ask it the question. And it'll give you an answer, but if you look very carefully, you'll notice that this example can be vulnerable to cross-site scripting if the parameter comes from the user themselves. So you can nudge these sorts of situations just by being more careful about how you ask questions. So if we go over here and say that we want a secure code, then you'll notice that it'll add output encoding. So the main takeaway is be careful about how you ask questions, and be aware that when you're in a conversation, the answer that you get is based on the entire conversation and not the immediate question that you just asked.